Originally published on Facebook, October 25, 2015. Published on my blog page on 25th of October, 2017. I did some more info on August 8, 2020. The Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916. The Sykes-Picot Agreement of May 1916 was a secret agreement that was concluded by two British and French diplomats, Sir Mark Sykes and Georges Picot. The Sykes-Picot Agreement involved itself with the partition of the Ottoman Empire once World War I had ended. The Sykes-Picot Agreement effectively handed over control of Syria, Lebanon and Turkish Cilicia to the French and Palestine, Jordan and areas around the Persian Gulf and Baghdad to the British. While neither France nor Britain actually owned these territories, they were to effectively control them at a governmental and administrative level. Northern Syria and Mesopotamia were also considered to be an area of French influence, while Arabia and the Jordan Valley were considered to be a sphere of influence of the British. Jerusalem was to be governed by an international administration. This agreement did clash with the McMahon Agreement of 1915 and the statements made by T.E. Lawrence to the Arabs, who had expected to be allowed to govern their own regions after helping the Allies fight the Turks during World War I. The agreement was never completely fulfilled by the peace settlements, but it did lead to the Arab people not fully trusting the British or French governments at times in the future. How did the Arab people find out about the Sykes-Picot Agreement? Addendum. August 8, 2020. In 1917, the Bolshevik Communists, led by Vladimir Lenin, found a copy of the Sykes-Picot Agreement in the government's archive records. Lenin's colleague Leon Trotsky published a copy of the agreement in the Izvestia newspaper on November 24, 1917, in an attempt to expose the great powers' plans to inherit the Ottoman Empire at the end of World War I. Russia, in the agreement, was to have influence in Turkish Armenia and northern Kurdistan, hence why the pre-communist government had a copy of the agreement. The Russian communists released the contents of the agreement into the public domain, thus explaining why numerous Arab groups knew about it. Lenin called the treaty the agreement of the colonial thieves. The exposure of the agreement caused a political scandal for Britain and France. The Balfour Declaration. Britain, during its negotiations with Sharif of Mecca Hussein bin Ali, took up the responsibility of establishing a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This came in a letter written on November 2, 1917, by the then British Foreign Secretary, Arthur Balfour, to Baron Walter Rothschild, a close friend of Zionist movement leader Chaim Weizmann. The British commitment was endorsed in 1920 as Herbert Samuel, a British Jewish Zionist, arrived in Palestine as Britain's first High Commissioner to the country. In that year, the British Mandate of Palestine was formalized by the League of Nations in a special article in its legislations. Read, Hagia Sophia Mosque Religious Chauvinism? Shakir2.wordpress.com